All right, welcome to This Week in Nashville Sports here on SportsNashville.net. This Week in Nashville High School Sports. I'm lucky enough to be joined here by Murphy Fair this week. Murphy's going to help us out with some going over last week's games, maybe some mid-season report, and then we're going to look forward to next week's games. Murphy, tell us though how you got into this. And Murphy, I don't know if you know, is known as the guru around these parts for Tennessee high school football. Tell us how you got that nickname to begin with.
Well, I was going to say we'll start with the most important part, and that's what you just referred to. Maurice Fitzgerald, years and years ago on a Nashville, I don't even remember what radio station we were on, but anyway, somebody had called in with a question, and they were asking it to Maurice. And he said, well, I'm not sure, but Murphy's here. He is the guru. Let's ask Murphy. And it just sort of stuck.
Yeah. It should. Murphy knows more about high school football in this area than anybody I know. And in fact, he's got a book. It's his 30th year of publication, the Tennessee High School Football Book. This comes out once a year. And Murphy, I get mine as soon as I can when it comes out. Can people still get this book?
Probably so. I've got about 15 or 20 copies left is all. I don't think any of the dailies or twice daily stores here in the Nashville area have. I think it's been sold out again this year. But yeah, they can go to my website, murphyfair.com, and figure out how to order one through the mail.
All right, in 30 years. Now, how did you have any idea that you would be doing this for 30 years?
No, not really. I've actually been covering high school football for 51 years. Yes. I was doing this when I was in high school.
Wow.
As covering the team covering my high school teams in Arizona on an Indian reservation. But nonetheless, this started 30 years ago as a hobby. I was working for a financial institution, missed the journalism part that I had done in years before, and just started this as a whim to be a hobby, just to kind of get me back close to the game and that sort of thing. 3 years later, my real job went away during the savings and loan industry crunch, which basically was the end of savings and loans
right.
as we knew them in Tennessee. But I'd been doing this for a while, and Ronnie Carter at TSSAA called me, and about 2 weeks into that full-time thing with the magazine, and said, would you be willing to take over our football playoff programs? We're losing money on those. And so I went down to his office, talked about it, and signed the deal. And those first 4 or 5 years of doing this full time, I actually made more money on the playoff programs than I did on the magazine. But it bought me some time to make this thing grow. And I consider myself to be very blessed to cover high school football and get paid for it.
Well, I'm very grateful for you, because I use this book as a huge resource, because I don't know much about teams outside of my area, and
sure.
when a local team is playing a team from outside the area, I have to research them a little bit, and this is a great resource. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank the coaches, because they're the ones who furnish me with the information. If it's in the magazine, it came from the coaches. I'm not putting words in their mouth.
Very good. Now, you also do a radio show, I understand. Tell us about that.
I have a statewide radio show very similar to the old Leonard's Losers, and I'm talking about people who are 45 and older will remember that, where you pick the winner of every game. He used to pick the loser of college football games. I pick the winner of every high school game across the state every week during the regular season, about 1,600 games a year, and this is the 7th year of that program.
Very good. Well, you're very good at what you're doing. I am extremely grateful. Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
All right, we're going to go over a few of last week's games just to touch on a few. I want to get your thoughts on some games that stood out to me. Cane Ridge 35-0 over Smyrna. That's a pretty big number, pretty big margin of victory, I thought.
Getting to be a bit of a rivalry, too, because those two schools are not very far apart, right there close to the Davidson-Rutherford County line. That's one of those games that I really thought could have gone either way. Both teams had significant graduation losses from last year, maybe Cane Ridge more than Smyrna did, but obviously Cane Ridge put it all together that night. I'm a big fan of Eddie Woods. I knew him when he was coaching at Melrose, and he's done a great job with that young program over there.
All right, very good. Fairview 49-0 over Greenbrier. 49-0 over Greenbrier. That's a big number as well.
I missed that game too.
Well, I think I did too, but I honestly don't know anything about Greenbrier. I just saw their record and I thought they would do it.
John Elmore's done a great job there in his second or third year as head coach. He was an assistant coach there for almost 20 years. Finally got his shot at being a head coach a couple of years ago, and They were undefeated prior to that game. Fairview only had one loss, but nonetheless, Greenbrier 4A school, Fairview 3A, and I just thought the level of competition favored Greenbrier in that one. But obviously Chris Hughes put it all together for Fairview, and that was a huge momentum builder for them, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Hillsborough 30-28 over CPA. We just talked about Coach Fitzgerald, and maybe he, it takes a while to get a team to buy into your system, to learn your system. Where do you think Hillsborough has maybe turned a corner?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head right there, Mike. I picked CPA in that one, as most people did. They've played a killer schedule again this year, but learned so much from last year and had so many kids back. I just thought they were ready to win out, but obviously Hillsborough had a little something different to say in that, and Hillsborough was actually one of my preseason picks, so I'm glad to see them coming alive and maybe hitting their stride just at the right time of the season.
And they have a big game this week against Beach, so we'll get that in a minute. All right, Oakland 42-21 over Blackman. This was one of these big Rutherford County games, and I was not at the game. I think, were you at that game?
No, but I listened to a good bit of it.
Okay.
Interesting thing of that game, they're both from Rutherford County. Oakland was number 1 in the state. Blackman was number 2.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often,
right,
especially when schools are only 5 or 6 miles apart. But Kevin Creasy has done such a great job with that Oakland program. They lost 35 seniors last year and are still playing lights-out football against a killer schedule. Opened up with that big win over Maryville,
right,
who's got a new head coach this year for the first time in about 12 or 14 years. The game was really close until the last quarter. I think was tied late in the third.
Okay.
And then a couple of key Blackman turnovers. Oakland capitalized, scored on them, and made the score make you think that the game was a little more one-sided than what it actually was.
That's what it seems like. Pearl Cone 28-24 over Marshall County. I'm not surprised that Pearl won. I'm surprised it was that close. Pearl, I've seen them play a few times. I've seen Marshall County play once. Marshall County did not impress me. I don't know. I wasn't at the game. I don't know what happened. But your thoughts on Pearl 28-24 over Marshall County?
I think both of those teams are going to be playing deep into the playoffs. Obviously, Pearl Cone at 3A, Marshall County at 4A. There's a lot of people who think all across the state that Pearl Cone and Alcoa is going to be a regular fixture in 3A, not only this year, but as long as those two coaches stay in place. That's one that I think could have gone either way. If they played 6 times, I think you'd probably see one team win 3 and the other team win 3.
Very good. And then Riverdale 57-45 over Centennial. That is a lot of points. 57-45. Did anybody punt? Did anybody? It was like an Arena League game.
There were a few, and interestingly enough, the day after the game, I saw Matt and Will Kreisky's father.
Okay.
He had come from North Carolina to watch the ball game, a former coach himself in Camden and Henry County over at Paris several years ago, but he said, that was a crazy ball game for a defensive-minded coach like I am. 102 points.
That's
crazy. You could have got a lot of money on the over-under there at 100 points.
That's crazy. All right, well, let's go on to my picks. Now, last week, see if I can find these here. Sorry, give me a sec. Here we go. Okay, last week I was 20-9 for the week. That gives me 138-40 on the year. That's batting at 78%. That's okay.
Pretty stout.
It's okay. I can do better. I had a bad week last week. I'm going to try to do better. Now, I'm going to make these picks, but there are a few games that I'm going to ask the Guru's help on here. I like Chattanooga Grace over Ezel Harding, and then Beach over Hillsborough. I'm going to take Beach. What do you think about that?
I agree, and I debated over that one a long time too. 2 very good football teams, and with Hillsborough knocking off CPA last week, that kind of gives them a little bit of a nudge. But I've got so much respect for Anthony Crabtree and what he's done at Beach. Not that I don't Maurice.
Sure, of course.
But I just think Beach has been there more regularly, and Maurice is at a new school this year, and there's still some edges there that need filing down a little bit.
I'd agree with that. That's a 5A Region 6 game. Huge matchup. All right, I like Antioch over Laverne, BGA over Whites Creek, Blackman over Warren County, Brentwood Academy over Baylor, Centennial over Franklin, CPA over Lipscomb. I like Ravenwood over Dixon County, Giles County over East Nashville. Now, Ensworth over Father Ryan. I'm going to take Ensworth in this one, but Father Ryan had a huge win last week. And maybe you think they got some confidence going into the game with Ensworth?
Yeah, but I think if you talk to Brian Rector, he's going to say we need a little more than confidence. Ensworth is loaded with talent, and it could be close, but I think Ensworth probably wins that one by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Although Father Ryan is always one of those teams that's going to beat somebody they're not supposed to. They've done that to BA a couple of times in the last 8 or 10 years.
And just last week against Ravenwood.
That's true.
That was a huge game.
Because Ravenwood was on a bit of a roll of themselves.
Right. Fairview over Sycamore, Summit over Franklin County, Friendship Christian over Mount Juliet Christian, Hillwood over Glencliff, FRA over Goodpasture, Gallatin over Hunters Lane. Now here's the game that I just it's a coin flip. Brentwood, Independence. What are your thoughts?
That'll be a dandy. It should be a great ball game. I have a great amount of respect for both of those coaches, among my favorites. That's a tough one to call, but I think Independence is starting to feel its oats a little bit. They lost a couple of games early, and a lot of people were ready to write them off right away. But when you look at who they played, most teams would have lost those 2 games.
Yeah, no shame.
I just think that's going to be a great game to watch, and could go either way. I think it'll be really close.
I'm going to go with Independence.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to make a choice. I'm going to go with Independence. All right, MBA over White Station, and that's a Thursday night game, I understand. McGavick over Stewart's Creek, and on the other side, West Creek over Kenwood. Mount Juliet over Rossview. Now, Mount Juliet has outscored their opponents 243 to nothing.
Which is most impressive, the 243 or the donut.
Right. I'm going to say Mount Juliet wins, but I think the shutout streak ends.
It's hard to say. And they're playing who?
Rossview. 4-2 on the year.
Todd Hood, who coached so well and did such a great job at Clarksville Academy, is in his first year at Rossview. They're winning a lot of football games up there. Yeah, I think it's a really good marriage between he and Rossview football as well.
They'll score some points.
Maybe.
Okay.
But that defense at Mount Juliet, every one of those guys has got this big bucket of pride that they carry around because nobody's been able to score against us.
No, it might come on a turnover. It might be a pick 6 or something. Who knows?
Could be.
Maybe.
Could be. We'll see.
All right. DCA over Middle Tennessee Christian School. Cambridge over Overton. Tullahoma over Nolensville. Oakland over Coffee County. Page over Lincoln County. McCauley over Pope John Paul II. White House over Portland. What do you think about that one?
I think it's a good call, but that rivalry goes back so far. Especially when Roger Perry was at Portland. He and Jeff Porter used to be in the same Sunday school class.
Now, when I was at the city paper, the Nashville City paper, several years ago, I went up to a game between those 2 schools. And I can't remember which school it was at, but it was one with the railroad track.
Well, that's Portland.
Went by. That was so fun. That was so
First
cool.
time I was there for a ball game and that thing went off, I didn't expect it, and I thought I was going to jump out of my pants.
Me too. That was so fun.
It is crazy.
All right, Cookeville over. I'm picking Cookeville over Riverdale. Cookeville is this is a 6A Region 3 game. Cookeville is 2-0 in the region, 6-0 overall. Riverdale 1-1 in the region, 5-1 overall. Cookeville over Riverdale. What do you think about that?
Jimmy Maynard was an assistant at Riverdale for a long time before going to Smith County several years ago, and now at Cookeville. His last 4 games, Cookeville is 6-0 right now, but his last 4 games, not necessarily in this order, are Riverdale, Blackman, Oakland, and Siegel. Murderer's row for anybody who lines up against them. He's got to be careful that his kids are not focused on one of those other 3 games and they're focused on Riverdale. I think Cookeville gets Riverdale. They beat them last year, and I have every reason to think they'll do so again this year. They've got a big, strong quarterback who runs and throws both very, very well. But like I said, they can't be focusing on Oakland next week.
Right. All right, we're going to finish this up quickly. Smyrna over Siegel. I like Lebanon over Station Camp. Pearl Cone over Stratford. Shelbyville over White County, and Nashville Christian School over Rossview. Murphy, I forgot to even talk about. We want to do a little mid-season review, if you will. Any surprises so far this year that have come around? We're going in. We're through week 6, right?
Yeah, this is week 7 of an 11-week season.
So we're just past the halfway point. We're looking forward to the playoffs. And how do you see it shaping up?
I think for the most part, probably 80–85% of the teams in the regions across the state are going about as expected. But what I've done is tried to isolate a couple of teams in each classification who are going against the grain. I mean, even the coaches didn't pick this. In 1A, Fayetteville, right now, they're 5-1. Alvin Palmer's got his team playing very, very well. And Moore County in that same region. Second-year coach Jason Dobbs, a former assistant at Oakland and at Trousdale County, doing very, very well there with that program. I said Oakland. I think actually it was Riverdale where he was before he got the Moore County job. But just in his second year, and the folks in Lynchburg are pretty happy about what's going on there.
Very good.
In 2A, Lewis County, Columbia Academy, they're both right there at the top. Those two teams play each other in a couple of weeks, and we'll find out for real. Columbia Academy, one of only 4 private schools that are still playing in Division I.
Right.
But they're doing a great job there too. In 3A, Cheatham County, third year coach Eric Catley doing a great job. It's been a long time since they've had a lot to cheer about on Friday nights in Ashland City, but he's got the Cubs playing very well. They're 5-1 overall, picked to finish third. They're right at the top of that region right now. In 4A, obviously it's White House. 0-10 last year.
Wow.
The first time for Jeff Porter to have a donut in the win column after a full season.
What do they call it, the BDP?
BDP is alive and well in White House for sure, and they're playing very well too. 5-0 right now, but all 5 of their remaining games are region games.
Nice.
So we'll find out how that plays out. Columbia High School winless last year,
wow.
Under Jason Hoth in his first year. A lot of injuries last year, and a lot of young kids too ended up getting a lot of playing time, and a lot of those kids are back. They're 5-1 right now, and playing very, very well. West Creek too. I gotta mention them. James Figueroa, first year as a head coach ever last year.
Wow.
And he's kind of turning that program around up in Clarksville as well. In 6A, it's got to be Lebanon.
Yeah.
Chuck Gentry, what a great job. All of his coaching has come with Jimmy Maynard, both at his alma mater in Smith County and in Cookeville. But Jimmy's on a run. Chuck's on a run right now. They've won 3 in a row, and 3 of the next 4 teams they've played each only have 1 win. So you got to like Lebanon's chances of maybe winning 6 or 7 regular season games this year.
Playoffs are definitely a possibility.
And then finally, the only real surprises in Division II come at the smallest classification, where Mount Juliet Christian is 5-1. Dan Davis, former player at TSU, had a pretty good senior class for that small school in Mount Juliet. So when you look at Lebanon and Mount Juliet and Friendship and now Mount Juliet Christian all doing as well as they are, it's a big year for people in Wilson County who cover high school football.
Great.
And also want to mention Davidson Academy and what they've done out there. They're 5-0 right now. Had a great record last year, but still are playing very, very good.
Very good. Thanks for that. You did a lot of work on that. I appreciate that. We're about to wrap it up here. Just wanted to mention the other sports that are going on. We don't want to forget about volleyball and cross-country, golf, and soccer. The cross-country teams are running kind of mid-season. Volleyball and volleyball and soccer are getting ready for their tournaments that start in a couple weeks. And golf too. Golf is in tournament right now. It's a new classification system in golf this year. It's called the Division I is small schools and large schools, and the small school tournament is underway right now this week down there in Manchester.
Willow Creek.
There it is. Very good. So don't forget about the volleyball, golf, soccer, and cross country. And follow me now. I need to know about these other sports, and the only way I want to know about it's not in the Tennessean. They don't cover the other sports. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. You're watching this on Sports Nashville on the Facebook Live on Sports Nashville's page on the Facebook, and I'm also, of course, have my website SportsNashville.net. So at SportsNashville on the Twitter, if you don't mind. You can email me sportsnashville1@gmail.com. I'm easy to find. Mike Straysinger, SportsNashville.net. Thanks for watching this week. Special thanks to Murphy Fair. I appreciate you coming by.
Had a great time, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.